Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Karen here, and I've got Prince with me, clipping on my mic. Hopefully it's not going to fall off. And it is a time to be happy. It's warm out. The sun was out for a little bit today, and there's hope here in Ontario for winter being on the wane. Let's hope it stays that way. So welcome everybody. This week the theme is happy. What is a happy dog, and how do we know? And I have a great resource for all of you that might be interested in learning more about that. And if you need even more details with your own dog, be sure to go to my bio and let's get together and have a chat. M. Donatag, I have a question. Is it important to have your dog's teeth cleaned? Is it safe? And I'm glad you asked that question because here's what I believed was, yes, it's safe. And yes, I thought it was sort of important, but I never really paid much attention to it because I feed my dogs raw. They have a ground raw that has bone, uh, sandpaper type stuff in it that's supposed to clean your teeth. But certain breeds of dogs are more prone to plaque buildup than others, tartar buildup than others, particularly small breeds. And without regular cleaning, that tartar or plaque can build up to the point where it creates gum disease, which can rot the roots and can compromise the quality of the tooth, the integrity of the tooth. So the short answer to your question is yes, it's very important to have your dog's teeth cleaned and get it done right. There's like groomers, there's professional dog teeth cleaners out there. They are good for easy cases. If your dog just needs an annual cleanup, they are good for that. But when you've got a dog that's been let go or that has developed serious gum disease, go to your vet. Get your vet to do them. Vets specialize in that. They have detailed training on it. They know what they're doing. They have a team of people that are going to help you. So yes, it's important to have your dog's teeth checked every year on their annual visit and cleaned if your vet recommends cleaning. Yes. And is it safe? Yes. If you do it with a vet, yes, because they have the protocols. Unless your dog got some allergy that they don't know, and that's not going to happen, it is safe. Now, I had a gal that used to work for me here years ago that did this on the side, and she had taken training and so on. But in her story admission, basically, she just wouldn't take difficult cases. And so that's where the vet comes in. But if you've got a dog that's easy, she knew how to relax them and so on, but they had to be easy cleaning, just regular, like you were brushing your own teeth. I don't brush my dog's teeth. I don't like doing it, put it that way. I find it's invasive on the dog. It compromises a relationship. It's the same reason that I don't do commercial grooming on my dogs. I brush them and I trim their nails and I clean their ears and I wipe their eyes, but I don't trim them. I don't bath them even unless they get into something stinky. I just don't do it as a regular basis. I let a groomer do that. And same thing with teeth. And here's why I say this is such an important question to answer, because my Josie, her Pomeranian, early into the pandemic, the vet looked at her mouth and said, you should get her teeth cleaned. Yeah, I'll get to it. It was going to be $1,200 or something. Like, oh man, like I don't have insurance. That's another conversation. There is a post coming out on this, by the way. So check into the Instagram if you're a follower, you'll see it. So I just didn't do it. Honestly, I didn't do it. And her teeth were okay. I mean, they look okay. Then they got brown, and then they're okay. And then one day I noticed a big buildup right here behind her incisors, and I tried to get at it, but it was hard. I couldn't get it. Then her breath started to smell. These are all the signs you want to watch for. First thing we noticed was this buildup on her teeth. And, you could scrape it and didn't seem to do anything. And I would she's a big chewer. She'll chew on bones and let it come off, try to scrape it off, but it was beyond that. It was like it was baked. Second thing I noticed was goopy eyes. And I thought, in my business, I see a lot of dogs that are fed low-grade kibble, they get goopy eyes. The groomer would clean them, and then it would be right back in a couple of days, and her eyes were cloudy. She always looked to me like she had a headache, like she was like, or hungover. She was just like, ugh, like just, ugh. She's usually a perky, live little thing, and she was just losing her luster, and her coat was flat. And then when we went to the vet for her annual checkup, and I booked her in that was in December or something, and then I booked her February's dental month, so it's a great time to answer that question. I booked her in to have her teeth looked at, and she came home with 21 fewer teeth than what she went in with. But the teeth that she has left are now pearly white. So what I didn't realize at the time was that the brown on her teeth wasn't just staying, it was tartar buildup. And that tartar buildup led to gum disease. And one of them, in fact, on her upper was so infected that it was starting to go up into her nose. So serious surgery to remove 21 teeth, which is half of her mouth. Just dogs have 42 teeth, which I learned from the vet. And I'm not a vet, I'm a trainer. And within 2 days after that major surgery, she's back to her old self. She's lively. She's following me around. She wants to come out with Prince. She'd stop walking with us, almost like everything in her body hurt. So imagine if you've got a mouthful of rotten teeth, every time you touch the ground, you get that jolt in your head, like, ugh. So yes, please add your annual vet checkup. Make sure your vet looks in your dog's mouth. And if they recommend cleaning, take their advice and get your dog's teeth cleaned, because that will prevent tooth loss. If I had had Josie's teeth cleaned on an annual basis, starting from the time that the first vet recommended it, the same vet hospital, but the vet recommended it, she might not have lost 21 teeth. She still might have lost 21 teeth. I don't know, but she would have felt better along the way. And that's the key, is your dog's well-being and their overall comfort. So thanks for asking that question. It's a great question. Okay, let's go in here. So Chelsea LK2009, welcome back. What to do if your dog doesn't like your dog, or your Chloe doesn't like Henry, she growls at him. So you need to interrupt that. Chelsea, we've had this conversation before. When they're growling, why is she growling? Is he in her face? Is she guarding a toy? So is he invading her space, or is she protecting something that she says is his and he can't come near? So it doesn't mean that they don't like, it doesn't mean that they're not liking each other. You got to dig deeper into why the dog is growling. And then you take appropriate action. If the dog is guarding a toy and another dog is coming into that space, I look to see how much of a habit that is and how serious the dog is. My having these guards bringing everything. So we will intervene, keep the other dog away. The smart dogs don't approach a dog that's guarding a toy. They'll just back off. But then that gives that dog the victory. So I want that toy. So I will do whatever I need to do. I might put him on a leash and move him away, or we just simply we'll do a bait and switch and then pick up the toy and everything gets put away. If the other dog is being obnoxious, like Prince will, good dogs give warnings. So the question about my dog doesn't like another dog is growling okay from Chelsea, from Chelsea LK2009. Good dogs give warnings, and warnings are growls. And it's oftentimes puppies don't capture that, and certain breeds of dogs just don't seem to know how to read a message from another dog. And sometimes it's not breed, it's just upbringing. If they haven't had the right socialization, they don't get it. So it's incumbent on you as the owner to advocate for the dog that's growling, because it's giving warnings. So many people make the mistake of chastising the dog that's doing the growling without looking at the context of why the dog is growling in the first place. And you want to be sure that there's nothing that's making that dog feel uncomfortable. That's usually why dogs growl. They don't growl because they're just outright aggressive. They're growling because they're trying to have a conversation. And it's up to you to help that dog be heard. So if it's growling at your other dog, why is that? And maybe you need to bring a trainer in that knows that stuff, because not every trainer does. You're not going to correct one dog and correct the other dog. You're going to figure out what it is they need to live in harmony together. Is it because Henry's getting in Chloe's space and you want to teach Henry that that's not allowed, go on your place and lay down? Or is it because Chloe has a toy that she thinks only she should have? Then I play the share game. I bring them close together and I'll sit them in front and I'll give Henry a treat, then I'll give Chloe a treat. Then I'll give Henry a treat, then I'll give Chloe a treat, and I'll say their name each time. I don't allow them to share toys if it's going to be an issue. But I can have 3 or 4 dogs in here. See, there's 2 bones on that bed behind me. I can have 3 or 4 dogs in here, and they can all be chewing a bone. And no one growls at the other. Now, if Prince is in his crate, and another dog comes and puts his face in the crate, Prince is going to light up. More than just growl, he's going to light up. Why is that? Because that's his territory. So instead, I don't like him doing that. It's irritating. But I'll get in front of the crate door, and I'll move the other dog away, and then I'll open the door. And he comes out and everything's fine. But then I'll close the door so the other dog doesn't go in, because he doesn't like that either. So you have to understand why the dog is growling. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but you need to study your dog's behavior and realize or figure out why one's growling at the other. And the cool thing about that, here's what I saw on the beach dog and the street dogs in Costa Rica. There wasn't one episode of that, nothing. I had dinner with 3 of them. The last night I was there, I went down and I sat on the beach and I had dinner with them. I thought, I'm going to have dinner with the beach dogs. So we had, they come up one at a time. And at one point, there was a little one there, and a black dog came up behind, and he growls. The little dog in front of me growled. He turned around and went, and that dog went, okay, not my turn. And he walked away. See, no encounters. And then when the little dog in front of me was finished with me, because that's what happens, something more interesting comes along, they're gone. Then that other dog came in and sat down and we had a conversation. So it's it's fascinating when dogs have the ability to choose and they know that they have lots of room to get away from something. They will make the right choice. But the growl isn't about I'm going to kill you. The growl is, hey, this is mine. Back off for a bit. I'm not done yet. And leadership is dynamic. So there might be a dog that will growl. I see it here. If a dog was to walk up to Prince now while he's chewing on that bone, he might give a little and the dog backs off and goes and lays down and gets another toy. And I'm going to be close by making sure that that's what happens. But then when Prince is done with that bone, he walks away. The other dog can come and pick it up. He doesn't care. Okay, I got some questions here from Laura Persifield. I took my little 9-pound dog with barely any teeth and a small mole on the bottom eyelid, and they wanted $1,600. Oh, this is for, yeah, I can't help that. That's why I didn't do it the first time. It was $1,200 and I didn't do it the first time. So the second time, when I should have done it in the first place, the second time it was $2,500. So what do you think was a better deal? It is what it is. I've long since stopped worrying about vet prices. It's good and it's bad. I don't know where you're located. Here's another thing that this is a whole conversation for a podcast, which I will do down the road on pet insurance. I don't have pet insurance because I think insurance period is a ripoff. Sorry. And I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm just saying I have insurance to cover all my house and my car and all that sort of stuff. And it is a ripoff till you need it. And then you need it. In the case of pet insurance, here's what my vet advised me years ago, and I have followed this advice, and it's always served me. I have 4 dogs, and I have friends who are paying $400 per dog for their monthly coverage. That's ridiculous. It's just friggin' ridiculous. So, that's 4 months, $1,600 gets the dog fixed, and you've got it all covered because insurance companies are not in the business to pay. They're in the business to not pay. So if you take your dog's got no teeth or barely any teeth, Laura, and you go into the vet and he says $1,600, and you go, good, will you put that through my insurance? There's a good chance this insurance isn't going to cover it because they're going to say, oh, well, your dog doesn't have any teeth anyway, or had barely any teeth. It means he has dental disease because you've got to fill out all kinds of forms. He probably has dental disease. That's a pre-existing condition. We don't cover that. So my vet advised me, take that money, take $100 a month or some much money a month and put it aside in an account, in a dog wellness account. And then if you have a major episode, which hopefully you never do, there's where your money comes from. And instead of paying this out to an insurance company who gives you nothing back, you've at least got the money in an account and you've accumulated some level of interest on it and it's secure there. And then when you need it, you're not taken away from your disposable income or your household management income because you've set that money aside for the dog. So that can cover everything from a basic spay neuter to something like this, which is a major investment for dental hygiene, and you've got to have it. So so I think the smaller dogs are probably more expensive than the bigger ones because I don't have any frame of reference because Prince's teeth, touch wood, are good, but they're harder to work on. Let's face it. It's a smaller mouth. You've only got so much to work in, and you got to try stitching that up. Like, ugh. So I'm sorry if that's what it was, but that's what it is. I can't even debate that. It is what it is. I'm not a vet, as I said, and vets aren't trainers. You might, Laura, if you were to go to your vet and say, I want this little dog trained, and I called Karen and she wanted, $1,000 for whatever for, a couple of sessions, and the vet might go, oh my God, but they don't have any idea what's involved. And I don't have any idea what's involved in a $1,600 quote. So I'm not going to cross that line. All right, but thanks for the question, or for the comment. Okay. Here we have a question from Laura Kozavier. I hope I pronounced that right. Lauren Kozavier. Hi, I have a Shiba Inu, and when I'm home, he will not start barking at my roommate. And when I'm not home, he's calm to my roommate. I'm not sure what your question is. Probably just why is he barking at your roommate? So, as with all questions, I ask I need some other things. What's going on? When you're home, what's his daily routine look like? Like Shiba Inus are kind of a little bit herding dogs or they're a little independent that way too. It could be he's guarding you. Like what's the proximity when you're there? It could be he's guarding you. What do you do when he barks? Do you yell at him, which makes the barking worse? Or do you put him on a leash, have him attached to you and just carry on as if nothing's going on? I think he's feeling insecure. He may see the roommate as a threat, but when you're not there, the roommate's not a threat because you're not there. There's nothing for the dog to perceive the roommate as targeting. So he's possibly saying to the roommate, "You're making me nervous. Get away from my mom." That's speculation, but that could be what it is. So if that's the case, then the response that I would deal with or I would recommend with you would be, number one, tether the dog to you and start, just move around the room. Then number two, maybe tether the dog to your roommate and have them do the same thing. Just move around, take the dog for a walk, spend time alone with the dog. But you say he's calm when you're not there, but you still, and maybe go for walks together so the dog sees you're okay, you're coexisting. I don't know what kind of a relationship you have with your dog, but with you and your roommate, but he might need to see the two of you interacting in a way that benefits him, which is the walk. Or out in the yard, is he like that outside? If you both go outside together in the yard, I don't know if you have one, what's he doing? Like, I would wanna know answers to all those questions because that's the solution. The answer to those questions will create the solution. And, build a relationship for the dog, get the dog to build a relationship with your roommate, and then make sure you have a mutual relationship where the two of you are interacting with the dog on different, for different reasons. Same thing, one, get your roommate to feed the dog when you are in the room, get your roommate to walk the dog when you are on the walk, so that he starts to, it brings his stress level down. He starts to understand that this is okay, he can cope with this. And the worst thing you can do if he barks at your roommate is to yell at him. Because what you're doing then is aggravating or boosting up the cortisol release from his brain that says, this is stressful. You're aggravating the stress. What you want to do is be calm, because calm creates calm. Just be calm. And first of all, make sure he's on a leash. Pick the leash up, attach it to your belt and walk away, and then start to do that for a week or so, and then start to, until you see a shift in his body language, and then start to implement the other protocols with your roommate. Get your roommate to feed him when you're in the room, your roommate to walk him when you're in the room, and your roommate to walk him when you go outside. And just be patient, because that's what it takes. It's patience, time and patience for something like that. Okay, so yeah, so mini golden doodle. It shouldn't be, well, it's always expensive, but you could look for, depending on how old is she or he. How old is your mini golden doodle? This is, hey Trish, good to see you. Yeah. Would I go to the vet? I would. I would recommend you go to the vet and at least get their assessment. They might say, this just needs a light cleaning, and then you can decide if you want them to do it or if you want to go and look for a commercial dog tooth cleaner to do it. Doggy dental hygienist, I guess we could call them. And it depends where you are and what kind of a relationship you have with your vet. For my money, I knew I had a pretty extreme case with my palm, but even so, I have a good relationship with my vet. And I just, like, that's their job, right? And I know the training that he's gone through, because I remember when he first did it, but that's their job. He doesn't train dogs and he doesn't offer training tips. He sends them to me and I go there when I've got medical issues. So I would go to the vet for your initial assessment, and then you can decide from there. Yeah, and it should be okay. Don't wait. That's my point. Don't wait. Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Mansurlin, comment on the tooth cleaning. It says, yes, it's important. My dog developed cancer from her bad teeth, and that can happen. Because the infection, and if it's left unattended, and once again, I get back to the street dog incident. Some of these dogs get picked up, they're kept in rescue, and then they get adopted out, and people get them and they spend literally thousands of dollars on dental care. And it isn't because the dog had bad food. It's because some dogs and breeds are just more prone to tartar buildup, which, if left unchecked, causes dental disease, which, left unchecked, gets deeper and causes infection that can spread throughout wherever. Certainly mine was starting to get a sinus infection, or it was at risk of that. So it's really important. This was an eye opener for me, and I guess in one sense I was lucky, because I still got our Havanese he had 12 teeth taken out years ago. But Josie's breath started to smell. If your dog's breath is not right, and all the time, it's not just that they've eaten something like, let's not even get there, but there's just 3 signs to look for. Breath, smell the breath. Look at the energy level. If the dog is no longer doing things that they used to love to do, even something simple like running around the yard. And if they get cloudy eyes, or crusty buildup in their eyes, and or their coat is just not as lustrous as it was, even though you're going to the groomer, those are 3 signs that something may be going on in their mouth. Because think of it, if they've got bacterial buildup in their mouth, they're swallowing that every time they swallow. and that's being spread through the system, through their bloodstream, and all through the digestive juices, everything. It's just going through their whole body. So it wasn't a cheap lesson, but it was a lesson. Don't fool around with mouth issues. Whether I mean, if you're a person, there's nothing worse than seeing a person who has a mouthful of bad teeth. A, it's not necessary in our society today, and B, it's like how awful that must feel. Like, ugh. So, yeah, good. Thanks for that comment. I appreciate it. Mhm. Okay, let me just see here. Remember, if you're looking for more information, there's actually, if you want to book a session or you need more details, go to my bio. There's a ton of resources in there. Click on the Stand Store link. There's a ton of free stuff in there. There's access to my free puppy course. There's also, you can sign on to our great stroll if you've got leash issues. Type in the comments your number one thing that you love the most. I like the fact with Prince right here that he, in spite of being a Malinois, he's not as demanding as I expected him to be. And what I like the most is at night when we go to bed, he gets to sleep in bed with me and he comes right up. He puts his head on my chest till he's feeling me start to twitch, I guess, start to go to sleep, and then he goes and finds his own spot. But he is doesn't take much to fulfill him. We play tug all day long, as a matter of fact. He takes this great big clunky thing that he carries in his mouth and he'll come up and he'll shove it at me and then I play tug with him. And then I put my hands on each end of it and I say out, and he spits it out. I back up, and I'll back up further and further each time, and I'll say, "Go," and I haven't thrown it yet because I gotta time it just right, and just as he gets to a right spot, I'll flip it in the air and he catches it. I love that, but it's an easy way to keep a dog fulfilled. He doesn't have to be walked. I'm also grateful that I live in the country, so I don't have to worry about that. But to post in the comments one of the thing that you like most about your dog that just gets you up in the morning kind of thing. Sarah typed it, she caught my comment. Type what you love most. She has a Cane Corso, loves the temperament, chill, and the chill energy level. Well, good for you because I get, as I'm sure you recognize, a lot of people. There's one Facebook group I'm part of, and it makes me cringe. The things that people are doing with their Cane Corso puppies. So clearly, you know what you're doing, and you've got just like this guy. You know, Malinois in the wrong hands are just not fun. Same thing with Corsos. The temperament's cool. I think they're cool dogs, not necessarily for me, but I didn't think he was for me either. When I got Prince, I actually talked to a animal communicator because this dog, he was here, I was fostering him. And every time this was before the pandemic, and every time my staff brought him out, it was like, ah, who's that? Anyway, he was just so regal. I spent like maybe 15 minutes every morning with him, teaching him to heel backwards and go around in circles and do certain things like that. And then taught him to, tug and that kind of thing. But that was all the time I had because before the pandemic, we were super busy. And during the pandemic, it got quieter. And then after the pandemic, I realized how much I like the quiet. So I didn't ramp up to where I was before. But during that busy time, I had 15 minutes a day. And I thought, man, I read all this stuff about these dogs and how they need to work, they need the protection, they need to be fed, genetic. They need those genetics to be catered to. I didn't think, there he is. I didn't think I could meet his needs, seriously. And I've trained retrievers for a field trial competition, so I knew what it was going to take to meet his genetic needs if, in fact, I was accurate in what he needed. So I reached out to an animal communicator that I had met at a horse show and who I was really impressed with. So she was the real deal. And so I reached out to her and bottom short story, fast forward, we connected. I had to send a photo to her. And the bottom line after our conversation, which was quite entertaining, by the way, if you've ever found a really good, legitimate animal communicator, they're worth the investment, was he's happy with you because he knows what he's supposed to do with you. In other words, he had a pretty consistent schedule. I don't yell at my dogs. He says you don't yell at him. What's the point? But I don't. I just don't. I speak in body language. And she says, so he's happy for that. He wants to. And I said, but I don't know if I can meet this mouth need. Like they need to use their mouth for protection there. She says, no. He doesn't like that mouth stuff. Well, that was a little bit wrong because he loves it now. But she said he wants to help you with dogs. She didn't know anything about what I did, by the way. And I said, well, I can't bring him in the house. Oh, he likes it where he is. He had his own space here for the longest time. And so I kept moving. I actually decided to keep him. And my staff would say, when we were walking him, they say, Man, we spend all day with him, and yet he sees you're with him for 15 minutes in the morning, and he sees you at any time during the day, and he just loses his mind, which he did. He just loses his mind. And it wasn't that they weren't good and they weren't consistent and they weren't giving him stuff to do. It was just I caught him first thing in the morning. I was consistent and I always showed up. And he just resonated with the energy, and maybe he knew I had a bigger purpose for him. But I don't even know how I got off on that tangent. But the Connie Corso from Sarah. Yeah, it's some people get these dogs because they're, and I had sort of remotely put out there, I wonder what it would be like to have a Malinois. And I miss my labs, dearly. They're my soul dog. But and sure enough, then the universe says, okay, you said that. You better be careful what you wish for because we're going to give you one. And here he is. Here he is. Now he's 6 years old now. He'll be 7 this year. And so we've come through, we had the teenage period. So once again, perseverance, time and patience. And I luckily reached out to some Malinois friends at the time, and they said, this is normal. This is what they go through. You've just got to work them through it. Just keep at it and stay consistent and don't break your routine. And I did. And now, I mean, during the pandemic, I taught him to catch a Frisbee, taught him to grab a pillow. Like I don't have a bite suit, but I have a bite pillow, taught him to do that. How do I get my 5-year-old Cavapoo? Oh, how do I stop him from jumping on me when I come home? Great question. Thank you. So I'm assuming he's been alone in the house all day. He comes home. You come home. He's excited. All right. So why is he jumping on you? He's excited. He's happy to see you. So you have to be, I would suggest, to be very careful how you deal with that. For one thing, he's excited. He's happy. I don't want him to be unhappy when I come home. So my little dogs, they jump all over me when I come in the house. So here's how I deal with it. So I come in the house and they're yapping and barking, and I love Cavapoos, by the way. I've had a few of them as clients. I stop. Now, one of two things you can do, Julian. You can get down at their level and you can hug them and let them do that. And then when you stand up, then you go, nope, no more. That's it. So that's one option. The second option is he's 5 years old, so this is a habit. I'm assuming you've had him for a long time, like maybe since he was a puppy. Big assumption there, but I'm going to assume that. The second option is you come in the door, he's jumping all over you, jump, 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 and you can not look at him, look around, take your coat off, hang it up if you do that, and then just walk into the house. Just walk in, ignore him, don't speak to him, give him no energy, nothing. Then when he's calm, then you can pet him. And you pet him calmly. Don't go, good boy. Like don't lose your mind on him. Just you want to the simplest way to put it is you want to emulate the energy that you want from him. So that means that you want to be calm and you want to walk somewhere else in the house or just let him out and go outside with him and be calm. And then when he's calm, then you can sit down and have maybe let him on your lap, or then you can have a conversation with him. But you want to communicate with him in a way that lets him know that you only want calm energy. If you get down at his level, as soon as you come in, he's jumping on you, he's just going to jump on your face. And then you're going to hug him and, oh, you're so happy to see you. Then you're just feeding that energy, if that's what you want. And then he's not going to know to not do that with other people. I suggest you do the number 2 option, the emulating the calm energy, because then you can teach your guests to do that. If he jumps on them, you can stand back and say, just look at me, just come on in, just ignore the dog. He'll be okay. Just ignore him and keep walking. So that's what I would do. There's a third option, but you have to work really hard at it. I don't recommend it because not a lot of people are prepared for the amount of work that's going to be. You teach them either like a rapid soldier-like sit, or you teach him to go to where Princess was. That's what called a place cot. You teach him to go to his place. He's going on his other one. He loves these things. So he's going on, that's his after dinner cot. So you teach him to go to place and stay there until you're ready for him to come on. That takes a lot of work, particularly if he's been alone in the house for 4 to 8 hours and he just is happy to see you. Your best option is to just walk in the house calm. Then you're acting like a dog. Then you're acting like the leader of the pack who he wants to follow anyways. And you get movement, and movement diffuses tension. Movement lowers the energy. It brings down the adrenaline, and the cortisol starts to shift. And the brain says, oh, he's okay. We're good now. We'll just kind of wait because he's going to come back to us. You can walk in the kitchen. You can reach in the cookie jar, the pet cookie jar, and you can be very calm. Look away. As the instant his feet touch the ground, feed. Good boy. And then you can have that calm conversation. Then you hook him up and go for a walk. I hope that answers your question, but that's what I would do. It's a tough one, but be fair. Okay. Ah. Oh, yeah. So now he's humor. So what kind of dog is it? Humor, and he's a good hugger. I like that. Yeah. Prince is not, he's not a humorous guy, but he's a good hugger. He likes to be hugged, and not a lot of dogs do, especially you wouldn't think of Malinois, but he does. I do have a video that I did. I might do another one just to show that, yes, you got to watch the dog. Here we go. This is from I am Mila Gross or Grow. How to train my golden doodle to pee and poop on a pad. I guess my question is why? Why do you want your dog? How old is it? And why do you want it to use a pee pad? I don't use pee pads. I don't believe in them because then you're just confusing the dog, because often dogs will transition that pee pad feeling on their feet to your carpet or your bed, and to them it's all the same. I prefer to at least have them go outside. In the winter, I have a snow pile on the back, and they just go on my deck. And in the summer, it's easy to get off the deck. I just don't use pee pads. So if you want the dog to go on a pee pad, um, here's how people mostly do it, and I still think it's wrong. They put pee pads all over the friggin' house. So that just teaches the dog to go anywhere it wants, anywhere it feels that. And sometimes they'll go to the pee pad, and then they'll step off it, and they'll go beside it. I just don't use them, and I don't recommend them unless the dog is sick or the person is sick. I had a client at one time who was very, very ill. She had a lovely dog, and she could not get up in the morning to let it out, and she knew that. So what she did was she had a double-sided a double crate that had a divider in it, but the divider had a doorway in it, and there was a place where the dog slept in the back end, and then there was a place in the front end, or wherever it was. I think the back end where the dog slept, because the door was on the side, and then the front end, which would be a different part of the crate anyway, isolated by the wall where the pee pads were. So the dog, if she really had to go, because dogs don't like to go in their crate, she would go through that little opening and go on the pee pad. And then when this lady got up in the morning, when she could finally get up and get moving, she had some serious health issues. Then she would go outside. So otherwise, you can just do it like a cat litter box training. Like I said, it's so tough on the dog. It's unfair for the dog to teach it to go to the bathroom inside. They generally don't instinctively want to shit in their own nest, excuse the expression. They want to get away from where they live to go to the bathroom. And putting pee pads in where they live is just not healthy mentally for them. But you can do it like a cat litter box. You just, every 2 hours, you put the dog on the pad and you stay there till it goes to the bathroom, just like you would do outside, only you're not taking it outside. I would put, if this is a transition because it's winter and you've got some health issues that you're dealing with and you just can't get to the door, I would put the pee pad near the door so that the transition to going outside finally is easier for the dog. But you just put it on the pee pad and stand there till it goes. Good dog, yeah, good dog. And then in order to get it to go back there, I would leave some, like when they pee, I wouldn't change it right away. You're going to have to leave some stuff there. I wouldn't, if they have a bowel movement, I wouldn't leave that there, but just scoop it up and don't change the pad, because it leaves the scent, it draws the dog back there. So that's the easiest way. And then just keep repeating. And you don't have to praise when it goes, other than say good dog. I wouldn't use food for that, just good dog. And then away you go. All right, next question. Okay, this is Eugenia. Oh, this is a long one. Excuse me. Question from Eugenia Mazari. How about Eugenia Realtor? We'll just go with that. Why does my dog, every time I leave, always rip things? Okay, my question is this. Why is your dog free to do that? That's a crime of opportunity. Why does he have the freedom to do that? Why isn't he in a crate? Or why isn't he in a playpen or somewhere that's self-contained and safe for the dog? That's number one. Number two, how much exercise has he had before you go? Generally, if you're going, you're going to leave the dog for a length of time, you take him for a walk out in the yard, at least to air, and then go for a spin, and then bring him in, get him set up, and go. And number three, what kind of things is he ripping? Like, are these crimes of opportunity? If it's your shoes or your socks, and how old is he? If he's just a puppy, he needs to be in a crate. But if you've had him for quite a long time and he's always ripping things, as you say, first of all, you've enabled it by just allowing it and not doing something about it in the first place. And don't think that he's doing it because he's spiting you. He's not. He's doing it because he's stressed or because he's bored. Either way, it is increasing the cortisol level in his brain. He's just got to have an outlet for it because he's losing his mind. That's why crates are so, so, so important. They give the dog their own private space to rest. So why he's doing it, he's bored, or maybe has to go to the bathroom, he doesn't know what else to do, or he just has so much pent-up energy, he doesn't know what else to do. But the solution is to crate train him. Simple. All right, next question. Donna Plebanak. Let's go with that. Italian Greyhound, very loving. How long can they be left in the crate when gone? How old is he? So that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. Congratulations on seeing the value of putting him in a crate when you go away, because that's his space. Generally, for puppies, the formula is at night 1.5 hours for every month of age. So if he's 2 months old, you bring him home, he's 8 weeks, 1.5 hours, so that's 3 hours. But during the day, it's 1.25 hours. It's less because there's more going on. So it's 1.25 hours for every month of age. And generally, you can leave, for a puppy, for every hour they're out, they should be in their crate for 2 hours anyways. They need 18 to 22 hours of sleep a day, and it should be in a crate because it needs to be undisturbed rest. So I don't know how, and Italian Greyhounds are they're like snuggly, cozy, quiet kind of guys in the house anyways. I would, if you have aired him before you go, in other words, he's had all of his needs have been met, he's not thirsty, hungry, or has to go to the bathroom, he should be good in there for 4 hours and sometimes longer. It just depends on what's going on around. I tend to leave a radio on in the background just for white noise more than anything, so that if the doorbell rings. So what happens if you leave him there and maybe he hasn't been aired properly and there's no radio on, they hear every little sound and then they're high alert, every little sound. So if he's had all his needs met and you get into a routine, here's an example that I use for people that have to go to work, daily routine. You get out, you walk them at say 8 o'clock in the morning, then you go to work for 8:30, then you come home at lunch for 12, you do the same thing. And you put them in and you come home again at 5. So that's 4 hours. So that should be fine. And they'll get into that routine, and you'll find if you get caught at work and you can't get home and it stretches to 5 hours, the dog's okay. But you don't want to stretch it to 12 hours. But 4 to 6 hours should be fine, as long as his needs have been met. That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. And crates are, they are a godsend, really. A giant Schnauzer, 6 years old. That's so cool. They're cuddly. They're great dogs. Giant Schnauzer, cool. Okay. Yeah, I know there's always this debate about crates. Here's a question, and I just want to come back to you on that. Once again, I have it's in a blog, but I have check my blog and my website. But there's also my podcast coming out on rescue dogs in Costa Rica. And the gal that was hosting the retreat that we were at for women dog trainers, she worked with this rescue. And they just asked her for help. They reached out, asked her for help. And her suggestion with all these, they had 10 to 20 dogs in there at a time, was teach them to be comfortable in a crate. Now, these are dogs that are used to running free on the street, free on the beach. And she's asking them to go into a crate. Holy smokes, you think they're going to lose their minds. Au contraire, we went to visit this shelter. Now they had, once again, it's that predictable daily routine. They'd had their walk in the morning and on the beach, all of them, there's 10 of them. And we went, there was a couple of dogs roaming around. There was a cattle dog there that kind of was the guard dog of the yard, and as cattle dogs can be. And there was 2 dogs that were isolated for injuries. And then there was these other 8 dogs in crates. So we said to the rescue manager, the facility manager, can you let them out? And there was 4 of us there. 3 of us were trainers with facilities, and we're prepared to get jumped on and barked at, and just we tried to brace ourselves. And he said, "Oh yeah, sure." And he walked over, and started opening the doors, and nothing happened. Nobody came out. And then he started to say their names, and then they come out and they stretch, and then they stretch backwards, and then they moseyed on over to us, and they kind of sniffed around, and, "Oh yeah, how you doing? You want to pet me?" No, I'm not into that. And they walk away, and within a half an hour, some of them had gone and laid in the shade, some of them were hanging out with us, and some of them had gone back in their crates. when you do crate introduction properly, it is the dog's safe space. Prince would rather be out like this, but he's fine if I put him in a crate. And it's so important. You never know when you're going to have an emergency where you need to keep your dog in a crate because there's going to be some chaos in the house, or the dog has to go for surgery and the vet clinic needs to put them in a crate. It is the number one thing I teach puppies. People always ask me, what's the first thing you teach your puppy? I teach him to be comfortable in a crate. The rest will happen. But when I know that he trusts me to put him in a safe space, our relationship is already on the right track. So I hope that helps. Yeah, very, very good. Okay, so finally, once again, we're just going to wrap up here. Thanks for joining in, everybody. I really appreciate it. Remember, if you want to learn more about that kind of story, we've got a book coming out on rescue dogs, but the beach dogs and how much fun it was, and how you can draw some parallels with what happens here with dogs that are either in shelters and adopted or come from other countries. It's an interesting read. Type happy in the comments, and if you want to book a session with me, go into my bio, just click on the Stand Store link. You'll see a ton of free resources in there. There's a free puppy course in there. You can sign on to our leash course, which is just starting to wrap up now. We're soon going to have the final chapter put together that's going to teach people how to deal with reactivity when it happens, how to prevent it in the first place, and how to build that bond with your dog. That's on the Great Stroll. You can see that in the Stand Store link in my bio. And if you really want more help, I offer a variety of coaching options for virtually and in person, but virtually because most of you are not from here. I offer a ton of online one-on-one coaching just for you. So you can check that out as well. Just type on the Stand Store link and you'll see everything that's in there. How to train my golden doodle to pee and poop on a pad. He's 2 years old. He or she, I don't know if he's 2 years old. Have you had him since he was a puppy? Like, how long have you had him? And what have you done to train for potty training? And why is it that you want to put him on a pee pad? I'm going to just scroll here and see if you've answered that. I'm seeing, oh, okay. And then, oh, I'm sorry I messed it. Not, here we go. Oh, you got 2. Italian Greyhound over 11. How long can they be left in the crate when gone? Okay, 1's 2 and the other's 11 months. Keep them, Donna, keep them in separate crates, by the way. I know Italian Greyhounds like to worm it. You know, they like to get into those worm balls and snuggle together. I would keep them in separate crates just from a pack dynamic point of view. In other words, they know that you're the one that's in charge of that safety, and they're not dependent on each other. So, after 2 and 11 months, you can leave them there. It's not fun, but you can leave them there all day. They'd be fine. They'd be fine. As long as they've had their needs met in the morning and they know when you come home, the first thing you're going to do is go for a walk together. You could leave them there from 9 in the morning till 5 at night. I used to do that with some of my dogs when I was working in a day job. And what happened was that's more stressful on me because I'm at work going, oh my God, I got to get home and get the dogs. I got to get home and get the dogs. I come home and they'd be like sound asleep in the crate. So, yeah, you're good there. You're fine. As long as you need to just make sure they've had their needs met. Okay. Yep. Oh, you're welcome, Eugenia. Good luck with that. And yeah. And if you need more help, feel free to book a call. I do a 20-minute consultation. Doesn't cost you anything. But there might be some other things we could dig into a little bit deeper because there's probably some underlying stress there that could be easily fixed, particularly if he's still young enough or pliable enough, if you like, to adopt to crate training. And most of them are, if you do it right, you can do it at any age because they learn that that's their safe place. How can I stop my 3 Shih Tzus from barking every time they see a baby? They don't bite, they just want to bark at them. That is funny. She's got a laughing emoji at the end of it, and that's funny. Okay. How old are they? That's a funny question. Really, it really is a funny question. Because I've had dogs that do that. So what I might do is this. This once again, it depends thing. I would maybe bring them one at a time to meet the baby. So you sit on the floor with the baby in your arms, and you don't talk. You might put your hand out for space, just like that, and then let them come in, grab it, put your hand and bring them in. But they have to come in gradually. They can't touch it. They can't put their feet on it, but they need to smell it. And babies smell funny. And the fact that they're barking, the fact that there's 3 of them means they're probably feeding off of each other's energy. So I would start by introducing them one at a time. And if this is your baby or a new baby, you might want to have a rotation where they get to participate in the daily routine to look after the baby, so they see that it's just part of their group. but if it's any baby, then that's a little different story. But I might get a dirty diaper. So if you want to condition them to this, you get a dirty diaper, you get a doll. I have one in my classroom, so I'm not in my classroom, but I had the same issue, so I do have one. And I put you put a baby, go on YouTube and just go, or go into Google and Google baby crying or crying baby, and then you put that on your phone and you tuck it in. You take a little doll, a little soft raggy type doll, wrap it up in a baby blanket, put a smelly diaper in there, and then turn on the phone app to get the dogs listening to the crying, and then cradle it like you're cradling a baby, and sit down where they can see you, and just get them used to it. Maybe start that, do it for 60 seconds, and then put the baby away, and the next day repeat it, and maybe do it for 90 seconds. And that way you could use all three. If this isn't your baby and there's just a baby on the street, then you could do all three of them. But I would be tempted to do one at a time. That's like 3 minutes, right? So 1 minute each day, and until you can get up to as long as you want. And I wouldn't put the doll on the floor with them there, because that gives them the wrong impression for when you do have a real baby there. But they need to know you own the baby. It's not theirs. But they also need to know that you're keeping them safe. And they don't need to bark, and the baby's not going to bark back. The baby's already barking. That's why you've got the crying app in there. The baby's already barking, but they don't need to respond. And from your point of view, you keep your energy very calm. Don't talk to them in a baby talk voice. Hey, it's okay, come and see the baby. It's tempting to do that, I get it, but don't. Just sit there, and you can present the baby if you like, and then set the boundary. If they get too rambunctious, you go, just put it away. That's why a doll is really helpful, because if you fumble and you drop the doll, it's no big deal. And you get down at their level where they have access. It's a conditioning. You're just getting them used to it. But you have to do it on a regular, like a daily basis. And then once they're okay with once a day, then go to twice a day, and then 3 times a day, and then start to add more time on each end, until they're probably just confused because the baby smells funny, sounds funny, maybe even looks funny, because it's all wrapped up in this big thing. So that's a great question, though. And is it your baby or somebody else's? That's the other question. Or any baby. All right. Okay. Oh yeah. So 2, 4. Thank you. 2, 4, and these are the Shih Tzus. 2, 4, and 5. So they're older. Okay. It's funny when the baby is near, they want to lick them. So is it, like I said, is it your baby? But I would do that anyway. They're good age, like they know, and if this is a new baby to them, and they're already 2, 4, and 5, they've had their life, and now this disruptor comes along and the dog's going, hey, like, what's the smelly thing in our space? So take your time, be calm, and pretend or have the baby wrapped up, but sit down. You can have somebody there helping you if you want. That just kind of can be the interrupter that can maybe put just reach their arm out and to back them off. But be calm, so that they learn. Calm creates calm. If you're calm, they'll be calm. All right, folks, I think we're coming to the end here. I hope that if you got something out of this, double tap on the screen. _Lisa, my dog to lunges at cars or anything fast moving. Yeah, sometimes that's, I don't know what breed it is or how old it is. I do that with, there's a process to that too. It's called cycling, where you start way, way, way far away from the traffic, and you go, and as soon as the dog perks up, you turn away. Then you go closer and you turn away. And you go closer and you turn away, until they start to realize, hey, this is no big deal. Nothing's helping me. But if it's a herding dog, like an Australian Shepherd or anything like that has herding in their genes, they're going to go after something. So you've got to learn to get between them and the thing they see moving. I have a client that teaches his cockapoo. He sees a car, so he sits. And he just started to do it out of fear, because he never taught the dog to walk beside him, even though he walks beside me. Owner lets him go up front with cars coming, and he would just yell at him, sit. The dog, because he had a rock solid sit, and then he would get in front of him. So you can look for ways when you see the car coming to block. Oftentimes, I see it here, Lisa. This is a good comment. I see it here because my traffic on my road is not consistent. If you take that dog like that and you get him used to the city, into a big city, he can't lunge at every single car because they're everywhere. And I often see that with dogs that are from the city. It's okay in the city, but when they get out here and there's the odd car goes by on the road, like whoosh, whoosh. It's the G-force of the pull of the car, whatever that thrust is, and then it's the sound. So I walk them up the driveway towards the road, and then I'll stand back at a certain distance, because there's cars are so infrequent. And as soon as I hear the car coming, I'll start walking, and as soon as they look to see it, I turn and walk away. And then each day we get a little bit closer, turn and walk away, until we can get to the side of the road, and the cars are gonna go right by, and I see it coming, and I'll pivot around in front so that I'm the block. I'm telling the dog. See, leadership can be in the middle. Car is here, dog is here, you're in between. And that tells the dog, it's okay, I got this. You don't need to do that. And the instant the car goes by, I start moving with the dog in the opposite direction. Good dog, let's go. Calm. Over and over and over again. And yes, stuff happens. You're going to get caught on a trail where a bike comes up behind you or a car comes up behind you that you didn't hear. That is going to happen, but don't come unglued. You just go, oh, missed that one. Sorry, bud. Have them sit, get calm, and then start off again. Okay? Hope that helps. All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining in. We'll see all of you again next Tuesday at 5 o'clock. I'm Karen Laws, the Ontario Dog Trainer, and we got Prince in the background saying, thanks for joining in, everybody. It was a blast.